Hello, English 10. Welcome to week 1 of marking period 4. You will notice that my screen is not Google Classroom, but it is MCPS Classroom. That's because there's big news. We are switching to MCPS Classroom for marking period 4. I want everyone to be excited about it because it actually is really easy to use. I spent last Friday learning how to use it. I learned how to use it, and I realized that it's very easy to use, it's very organized, and for you all, it'd be very easy to follow what you need to do. So I'm going to show you in this video and explain to you what we're doing for week 1 of marking period 4. Okay, so after you're done looking at this video, you will log out of Google Classroom and you'll sign into your MCPS Classroom and click into the classroom for English 10 Miss Dietrich's class. And this is what your screen is going to look like. The home page is week 1. Here is everything you need for week 1 in one place. You are going to start always at the top and do things in order. Don't skip around to things. Okay, you start at the top and you work your way down. You'll see the last 2 things are the Zoom invitations. There's a Zoom invitation for second period English 10 and a Zoom invitation for fourth period English 10. So those are the only 2 things you would not do in order. You need to go to those, click on those on Tuesdays. So you're going to start at the beginning. You're going to go to directions. And when you get to the directions, you will see that it's very exciting. Marking period 4, we are studying something called speculative fiction. Speculative fiction is science fiction, fantasy, and horror. So this is like books and movies and stories, okay? So in week 1, what our objective is to be able to identify new background information about the genre of speculative fiction using vocab about science fiction, fantasy, and horror stories. Week 1, these are just the instructions. You're going to need a sheet of paper and a pen or pencil. You will look at the Google Slides. You must look at the Google Slides. That is your lesson. You are going to be making your own T-chart and Venn diagram with that piece of paper and the pencil that I said in number 1. The directions about this will be in the Google Slides. You're going to learn and practice new vocab on Quizlet. And then you have an exit ticket, Intro to Speculative Fiction, and it's a Google form. And finally, you'll check in with me during our live Zoom class on Tuesday. That's second period at 1:40 and fourth period at 3:30. If you need to talk to me before the Zoom class or after the Zoom class, you can email me and you can use the Remind app or the number that I handed out for you to text me. Okay, so you'll see down here, excuse me, there's a next button. After you read through everything, you can go to the next button. You can also always go back to home. When you get back to home, you'll see the list. So the next thing you're going to do is click on the Google Slides lesson. Okay. And in the Google Slides lesson, you'll see that it says, watch the video. You're watching the video right now. Do not hit the next button down here. You need to go through the slides. So this is slide 1. You're going to click the next button. And this is where it's the first slide, Introduction to Quarter 4. Students will be able to identify new background and information about the genre of speculative fiction. And our vocabulary, we're going to use vocab for science fiction, fantasy, and horror stories. Okay. So the next, I am going to go through the first few slides for you, and then you're going to see that there is some other information that I may put in a second video. Okay, so our goals are to explore the genre of speculative fiction. I already said that. You are going, number 2, you're going to identify and sort characteristics of sci-fi and fantasy into the similarities and differences, because we're going to find out what is science fiction, what is fantasy writing, and what is horror. And you're going to identify vocabulary related to all of these categories of speculative fiction. Okay. Here's our agenda, and I already went over this. This was in the first slide, but you can have it here again on what the order of things we're doing. Okay, so what is speculative fiction? You all know what fiction is. Fiction is a story that is not true. It's imagination. It's made up. But what is speculative fiction? So I'm going to explain. Okay. Well, to speculate means to ask, what if? So speculative fiction takes our existing world and changes it by asking, what if? So some examples are, what if time travel was real? What if aliens came to visit Earth? What if ghosts are trying to hunt humans? Okay. Speculative fiction is any fictional story in which the rules of that world are different than the rules of our current society. Authors and writers and movie makers change these rules and then speculate on the outcome. They say, what if? Because they don't know. These stories offer an escape from our current reality, but call the reader to compare the problems in the story to the problems in our world today. In these stories, authors often make an observation about our society and or provide a warning about the future. Okay, so in the beginning, I mentioned that we're doing the genre of speculative fiction. Genre is a word that means a particular category or type of work of art. So all of these things are different genres in music, literature, and movies: comedy, history, thriller, mystery, drama, action, war. These are all different ones. We're focusing on science fiction, or it's also called sci-fi, horror, and fantasy. So think about, you're already familiar with these terms. What are your favorite sci-fi, fantasy, horror movies and books? Here are some examples of different stories and movies that fall within one of these categories. Heard of Frankenstein? This is a new movie out, Disney Onward. This is one of these. Star Wars, Guardians of the Galaxies, Hunger Games, Jurassic Park, Bird Box, Divergent, Us, Harry Potter. So these are all speculative fiction. So think about, you have probably already read or seen a movie that is one of these types of, that is speculative fiction. Okay, the next slide. So let's go over, what is speculative fiction horror? Horror story elements include, there's elements of evil, something considered objectively immoral, bad, or wrong, an evil person, creature, or technology. There's suspense and foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is clues that something is coming. And suspense is the idea that you do not know exactly what is coming. The combination of foreshadowing and suspense creates fear for the reader or the audience. There's also connections to death. Examples: murder, ghosts, zombies. So this is one category of speculative fiction called horror. Here's some modern examples: Bird Box, A Quiet Place, Us. Okay. Science fiction is another category of speculative fiction. Science fiction story elements can include, there's like new science and technologies. Some examples would be communications with aliens, mutants, artificial intelligence, technologies and inventions that improve and advance travel, weaponry, animal, plant life, human life, etc. The setting is completely different from our current world. Examples would be travel to a new time period, planet, galaxy made possible by science and technology. Okay, some modern examples are The Matrix, Star Wars. You can see Back to the Future here. Okay, our third and final category of speculative fiction is fantasy. Fantastical story elements can include magic. Examples are characters and or creatures with superpowers, witches, wizards, sorcerers, fairies, elves, etc. This also has a setting that's completely different from our current world. Some examples: a new time period, a new county, planet, galaxy. There are also connections to the supernatural, for example, ghosts, zombies, vampires, werewolves, a new species, etc. Some modern examples are Game of Thrones, Beauty and the Beast, Naruto, and the Harry Potter series. Okay. So now we're getting to the part of the lesson where you need to get out your piece of paper and a pencil, and you're going to make this graphic organizer. I'm going to stop this video here, and when you log out of here and you go back to my MCPS classroom and you click on this video, there's going to be a new video in here where I describe what you're going to be doing. Okay,